Hello, this is Tree Hugger Dude. I hope everybody is doing well. I just wanted to make a quick video. I have been um, like reading Out of Oz, the book by Gregory Maguire, the fourth book in his Wicked series, and I just wanted to make this kind of reaction to it so far. I haven't finished reading it completely. I'm only maybe a quarter into the book, but I've really enjoyed it, and just wanted to share some thoughts and yeah, maybe generate some discussion. So yeah, I think this book has really been super interesting. I've really enjoyed it. It kind of immerses the reader into the world of Oz and kind of all the kind of historical conflict that there's been throughout the past four or three other books leading to this. It kind of brings those conflicts to life and those characters um, to life as well. It's a great book. I'm really enjoying it. But something that's really stood out to me is like the way that the theme of political sovereignty and ethno social conflict plays out. Um, I feel like the struggle of Munchkin Land for their independence is emblematic of the struggle for independence in other nations and in other places of the world. I can think of, for example, Puerto Rico's fight for independence from the U.S. I can think of, you know, the fight for independence in the Philippines when they were under colonial rule as well. The fight for independence in Haiti when they were fighting the French and the United States for political autonomy. I think Munchkin Land struggle is very something that kind of points to the history of colonization and social domination in the world of wealthy, powerful nations exploiting more impoverished nations and appropriating their land and taking their resources and establishing like a military presence there. And yeah, that's kind of where it takes me. And we have conflicts right now all over the world. For example, like the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And I think when we think of this colonizing force, through violence and through force, kind of taking an increasing slice of the land and marginalizing the local community. Um, it's kind of follows both what Cherry Stone has been doing to Glinda in terms of his increasingly uh, kind of totalitarian house arrest that he has Glinda under. For those that are less familiar, Glinda was the previous political leader of Oz. She reigned for a few years, during which time she like built a lot of schools and like tried to like invest in the social safety nets and help the poor. And she was like a progressive leader that was thinking about social justice and the welfare of the public. Um, but eventually, her reign came to an end, and now this other person, Shellthrop, Elphabethrop's sister or brother, Elphabethrop's brother, um, is the new leader of Oz, and he is trying to forcefully annex Munchkin Land, which had been ruled by Elphaba's sister Nessarose, who fought for them to break off into their own group. So they're the independent land of Munchkin, the independent Munchkin Land, and Yeah, it's really interesting to see kind of how you see that like a conflict, not just in the way that Cherry Stone is subjugating Glinda, but also in the way that the Land of Oz is trying to subjugate Munchkinland and any resistance, be it through their Animal Control Act, where they don't allow um, animals that can speak and that are intelligent, they don't allow them to for example, work, like in the University of Shiz where they used to work, or to kind of have prominent positions in society. They're kind of being put in cages and like trying to be. They're just kind of being discriminated against in society, and and yeah, it's a very dark time in the land of Oz, and Munchkins are resisting. And something that I loved about the book Son of a Witch, which was the second book in the series, was we saw how, um, you know, the religious community, the what was it, the monastery of Saint Glinda and the Shale Shallows, all those monks were like, even though they weren't like making big banners or anything, they were resisting. They were helping the poor. They were being like this safe haven in the middle of nowhere. Just a bunch of like really admirable, brave nuns that were just doing the good, helping society and putting themselves at risk every day, and doing that quietly for like 40 years or however long the superior monk was alive. She seemed very old, like she had been doing it for decades. And I think that something that I liked about the second book that kind of connects to this book is that we see the many forms that resistance can take. Um, it's not like putting on a soldier's cap and grabbing a gun or whatever, like going to war. I mean, that's maybe one form of resistance, but we see kind of other forms of resistance, like them staying in this war torn area, refusing to abandon their educational campaigns and their health campaigns in the community, a community that is impoverished and that needs help, and the absence of the state, the absence of the government, um, or its disinterest in helping the poor, and the church kind of filling that void. Um, so I was really taken by those nuns for that type of quiet, sort of subversive resistance. Um, I guess resistance through survival in a way. But Glinda has her own style of resistance too, and she is unique in that she was kind of connected to that world, being the empress, being the former leader, and having all this money. She married well. She married into Sir Joffrey's like family, and so she's lived a life of privilege, and even though she came from humble beginnings, she was also very astute and hardworking, and she left Shiz University kind of with a lot of ambition, and she was very cunning and admirable. But anyway, after getting into like the world of politics, and doing her part, and now being like a former political leader, she's being targeted because of what she might represent to um, like munchkins or to the oppressed communities, and also in relation to her relationship with Elphaba, who was a subversive, big kind of scarlet letter type of figure. People like the government really kept tabs on her because they were um, afraid of her in a way. Um, so yeah, no, Glinda's resisting in her own way. I mean, she doesn't have the um, I mean, she has the support of the people in a way. Like, I think people that remember her tenure respect her, and she's also, you know, demonstrated for the most part that she cares about helping the sick and the poor. So, like, she's a compelling figure, and the public do care for her, but she's just increasingly, I mean, it speaks to her character that her staff are so faithful. Like Puggles was so faithful, Myrtle was so faithful. Um, you can't help but root for her, but that's kind of not the. I guess yeah, she's very endearing, but it's like resistance. Resistance when you're like a part of the system, you know, like working in government, for example, and wanting to still be a public servant and to help, but also being kind of controlled in a way or limited in a way. And in this case, kind of like an extreme case of that. So like, how do you like play the system as like a political figure and try to do what's right? I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And just the barbarism of Cherry Stone and the psychological warfare and coercion that he did. Um, yeah, it definitely makes me think of like real world structural oppression, like you know what the IMF does, or military coups that maybe the United States or another country might be like financing. Um, and you know, structural adjustment programs that the like a World Bank might have, that instead of helping poor nations kind of makes them in a way like exploited by other countries, and makes them less, it kind of harms their development in a way. Those structural adjustment programs are very harmful, and you know always kind of done with this ulterior motive and with the goal of like enriching the one country at the expense of another. um so yeah, just the terrible depths to which the imperial nations will go, and imperialists will go. And so that's what General Cherry Stone reminded me of. And yeah, no, you definitely root for Rain, you root for Puggles, you root for Myrtle. I find myself really rooting for Glinda of all people. I really want her to find a way to survive this difficult situation right now. She's in a desperate situation with Rain. They're like the last two that remain. General Cherry Stone has um, kind of succeeded in isolating Glinda, and it's looking very dangerous. She just did a power move by doing the spell, and so now the ships are frozen and everything. But there's still uncertainty as to what's going to happen. So I'm really excited for this to continue reading the book, and yeah, those are just my preliminary thoughts. Definitely let me know what you think, and you know about like the themes of like resistance, political resistance, the fight for independence, colonization, social domination. um, yeah, let me know what you think if you like. Okay, have a good one. Bye.